In today's video, I'm going to tell you about Steve Bloomer. Steve was a talented footballer who scored goals between 1920 and 1930. When we look at the goal records of the past, it is clear that it was easier to score goals in the past. It could be due to referees being more tolerant of rough play, defending becoming an art perfected after scoring, changes in the offside law, or many other factors that we can only guess at. Even if we take these factors into account, there are always mind-boggling goal records. Names like Dixie Dean and George Camsell in the 1920s and 30s, Jimmy Greaves and Brian Clough in the 50s and 60s undoubtedly scored countless goals every year. Another name that can certainly be included in this goal-scoring record category is Steve Bloomer, who played in a tougher era than the players and finished his career with a club record of over 350 goals in less than 600 games. Greaves finished 11 seasons, including a year not playing in Italy, as English football's top goalscorer, a magnificent 6 times. Bloomer was a very close second. The goalscorer topped the charts 5 times in a total of 8 seasons between 1895-96 and 1903-04. Stephen Bloomer was born in Cradley, Worcestershire in 1874, the son of Caleb, who worked in the foundry of Joseph Lay, the first owner of the ground, and Marab, a blacksmith and foundry worker. At the age of 5, the family moved to Derby. Steve went to St James's School and played for St Chad's Choir before joining their football team and then joining Derby Swifts and Tutbury Hawthorn FC in the Derbyshire Junior League. Having started his working life in an iron foundry, the striker went on to play for Derby Midland in the Midland League. Shortly after signing, the club merged with Derby County and Bloomer caught the eye of England international John Goodall. Bloomer initially refused to sign a professional contract with County, preferring to retain his amateur status and join the third team. He finally signed a professional contract in April 1892 and the following month signed another contract, this time with Burton United. The FA ruled that the second contract was invalid and reprimanded United. He made his debut in a friendly against Darley Dale and scored 4 goals, showing that contract problems had not affected him. He came under the wing of Goodall, who scored 12 goals in 14 games for England at County. Bloomer later said of his mentor, "Goodall was most interested in me as a child. He coached me, sent me to Derby County, played with me, and never failed to give me valuable tips and advice." Bloomer was on Goodall's bench when he made his county debut against Stoke City on 3 September 1892 and broke into the team after a mistake by the club secretary left them without 2 players. He performed well in his first season, scoring 11 times in 28 appearances, but missed a period of suspension for signing for Burton United, and County struggled, narrowly avoiding relegation. The 1893-94 season was better for both County and Bloomer. The club finished 3rd, and although the player missed some games, this time with a broken collarbone, he increased his goal tally to 19 and began to appear on England's radar. He was selected for his first international match against Ireland at home in March 1895 and scored 2 goals, as did Goodall, in a 9-0 win. The third goal was initially attributed to Bloomer, but this was later corrected to an own goal. The following month he made his second appearance against Scotland and scored again in a 3-0 win at Goodison Park. However, it was a bad season for his club. After finishing 1 place above bottom club Liverpool, they had to play a test match against Notts County to retain their top-flight status. The 1895-96 season, his first on the baseball ground, was a much better one for County as they finished runners-up to Aston Villa and reached the FA Cup semi-final. Bloomer scored both goals in a 2-0 win over Sunderland in his home debut, finishing the campaign with 22 goals to his name. However, the season was to be marred by personal tragedy when Steve's brother Phil, also playing for Derby, died of peritonitis. Derby's frontman, who by then had earned the nickname the Destroying Angel, returned to the international squad for the 1895-96 home internationals. After scoring in the 2-0 win over Ireland in Belfast, he scored 5 goals in the 9-1 defeat of Wales in Cardiff, with Goodall taking one of the others. The 4-Nation Cup decider was at Hampton Park, but Bloomer withdrew from the squad after being injured in the Cup semi-final defeat to Wolves, which the Scots won 2-0 to clinch the title. Famous Corinthian Go Smith also scored for England against Wales, and the pair developed a fine partnership. FA President Frederick Wall said of the combination, Smith would call Steve and he would make the position so favourable that in the blink of an eye the ball would be in the net. Wall also said of Bloomer, "He was a superior goal scorer to anyone I've ever seen." In addition to his achievements in football, Bloomer was an accomplished cricketer who became the star second wicket-keeper of the Derby baseball team that won the English Championship 3 times in the 1890s. Baseball was the first love of owner Francis Lay, hence the name, and by bringing players from America, he gave them a huge advantage over their rivals. His successes also secured endorsement deals almost unheard of in those days, including the original molded studded boot for Lucky Boots and Perfagripa. Bloomer was again the Football League's top scorer as Derby finished third in 1896-97, but the following season was a poor one on the league front, with the team dropping to 10th in the standings and the marksman relegated from his top scorer position by a goal scored by Aston Villa's Fred Weldon. However, in the FA Cup final at Crystal Palace, County lost 3-1 to Nottingham Forest despite Bloomer's goal. Club and player returned in the next campaign with County, but again they finished mid-table in the league, heading for another FA Cup final at Crystal Palace. This time they took the lead against Sheffield United in front of 73,833 fans, but eventually lost 4-1. Bloomer failed to score here, but managed to score 23 goals in the league to become top scorer again. He continued to be a regular in the England squad and made 11 appearances for his country at the turn of the century, scoring 19 goals. 1899-1900 brought another 23 goal haul, and he again topped the scoring charts as County finished 6th. Displaying remarkable consistency, Bloomer again managed to lead the league again in 1900-01 with 23 times, while his team again managed only a mid-table performance and were more worried about falling than threatening at the top. On the international front, the striker scored 4 times against Wales and then scored a late equaliser against Scotland, which many said was one of the best goals they had ever seen. Bloomer collected the ball in Crystal Palace's boggy conditions and ploughed through the mud before sliding the ball into the net. He later said he had, "I have never been so tired at the end of a match." The following season, Steve was named captain for the home international match against Scotland at Ibrox on 19th April 1902. This was the day of the Ibrox tragedy in which 26 people were killed and 547 injured. The match was subsequently abandoned and replayed the following month in Birmingham, with all proceeds going to a disaster fund. There were no changes to the teams and the match finished 2-2. The 1902-03 season brought another cup final appearance and another runners-up medal, this after Bury's 6-0 scoreline, which was almost equalised by 9th place in the final league table. Bloomer continued to score goals regularly, but in 1906 he moved to Middlesbrough and County received $750. The decision to sell their hero galvanised the fans, and there were riots and protests on the streets of Derby. He finished top scorer for 2 successive seasons at his new club, proving that he hadn't lost his touch despite now being in his 30s. In 1937, Bloomer was living in the Great Northern pub he ran in Derby with one of his daughters, Doris Richards, after his wife had died and he himself was in poor health. Derby County helped finance a 3-month cruise to Australia and New Zealand to help him recover, but it was to no avail. He died of bronchitis 3 weeks after his return, aged 64. On 20th of April 1938, a funeral service was held at Derby Cathedral and over 10,000 people gathered to pay their respects. The bust shown above is in Pride Park, and the bust facing the pitch is perhaps an homage to the song Steve Bloomer's Watching, which is played at Tannoy to this day. Steve Bloomer's watching in black and white, helping them fight, guiding our heroes. There is also a commemorative plaque in Bridge Street, Cradley, where he was born, when Sir Tom Finney was introduced. Among those present were Nat Lofthouse and Wilf Mannion. In 2016, auctioneers W.H. Lane and Son of Penzance sold a fine collection of over 19 jerseys won by Bloomer during his career for a high price of $320,000. If you want more of this kind of content to come, press the subscribe button at the bottom. It means a lot when a footballer who played his first game 120 years ago is fondly remembered, and it is a tribute to Derby and its supporters that Steve Bloomer is still talked about, honoured, and even sung about at every home game. The Destroying Angel certainly deserves it, along with many others like him who have made the game better over the years.